Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that was done by one of our admin, and the translation reads like this. Hello, how are you? If you had told me years ago, about 5 years ago, that one day I was going to become a slave queen, just living her life, doing drugs, going to parties, endless parties, I would have refused, because my mom, she is someone who loves church. My mom, she loves church a lot, and she used to force us to go to church. Right now, I think that I am living my best life on Instagram simply because I do twerk videos even without showing my face. I have a lot of followers, like more than 200k followers, and I even receive gifts from men around the world, some designer bags that I can't even pronounce. I would have laughed in your face if you had told me that this was the kind of a life that I was going to be living starting from 2022 up until today. Back then, I was just Umbali, not a real name, from Umlazi, scraping through life with no plan, no connections. But life, it has a funny way of turning you into something you never expected. And this is my own confession. It all started in my second year at university. At that time, I had not yet ran away from home, and I was still staying in Durban. I was studying media and communications, a course I did not even want to do, but my parents had even forced me just to go to university, and then I ended up picking it because it sounded fancy. My mom, a nurse, also someone who loved God with all of her heart, worked double shifts to pay my fees, and my dad, well, let's just say he disappeared when I was 10. Life was hard, and I hated how broke we always were. In my first year, I used to scroll through Insta and see these stunning girls living their best lives, exotic vacations, luxury cars, outfits that looked like they belonged in Vogue magazines. I thought, how do they do it? They could not all be working 9 to 5s. Some of them didn't even look old enough to have a degree. That was when I learned about being a slave queen. So it all started when we had went to this other resort area. Like, we just went there. We had no money. So my friend, when I asked her, what exactly were we going to do to that resort area? Because the only money that we had was the money that we used to do an Uber to go to that place. How the hell were we supposed to return back home? My friend said, no, don't even worry. Later on, that was when I said, aha, so there we are going to meet men that are going to chow us after we would have drank their beer. Then they would return us back home and give us some money. So that is how I started doing this thing. Then one day, there was this other friend of mine, my roommate, whom I'll call Zinhle. She came back home with a brand new iPhone. It was the latest one. I was shocked. I knew she could not afford that one on her NSFAS allowance. When I asked her where she got it, she just smiled and said, you know, T, you need to stop stressing about money and start living. I pressed for details, and eventually she spilled the coffee. Zinhle had met another older guy that she called her blesser. He was in his late 40s, married and loaded. He gave her money, paid her rent, and even bought her clothes. All she had to do was to keep him company, in brackets, on weekends. She made it sound so easy, as if this was a job, like a part-time job. She said, girl, these men, they don't even want a relationship. They just want someone young and beautiful. And you are perfect. You are perfect. I was horrified, but also curious. Besides, I had been charred simply because there was someone who had bought us a 12-pack of Savannah, and they had their way with us throughout the night. Then the following morning, they only gave us 300 rands. Just imagine. So I looked at myself. My sneakers had holes in them. I was tired of just surviving. The idea started to grow on me. A week later, that was when she invited me to this other party at Umhlanga Rocks. It was not just a party, it was a networking event for blessers and potential babes. When we arrived, I was stunned. The house was a mansion with glass walls overlooking the ocean, and the people, everyone looked like they stepped out of a music video. I felt so out of place in my cheap dress and knock-off heels, but Zintle would not let me hide. She introduced me to a man whom I'll call Tabo, a successful businessman. He was handsome, and there was something about him. He had this other neck chain that he kept on rubbing, and he was like very handsome. He came to me and he said, "You have great potential. With a face like yours, you can go far." And he spoke with me throughout the night, and I won't lie, I was hooked when this man gave me money. This was after he had asked for my phone numbers, like I was shy. And then after I had given him my phone numbers, he then said, "You know, a beautiful girl like you cannot just give me your numbers for nothing." He then handed me an envelope and said, "You can go to another room and open it up. This is like a little gift for you for being so friendly the way that you are." He then gave me the 5K, and I won't lie, I was hooked. This money, it covered my rent, bought me a pair of real Nikes. Suddenly, I did not have to stress about surviving anymore. Over the next few months, he then introduced me to his friends, other men who wanted what he called a low maintenance companionship and relationship. I started to get to more parties with different older men, your regular tenderpreneurs, some of them that would force us to have twosomes, even to act out as if we were lesbians whilst they were watching. At the same time, because I was getting all of this money, my followers grew. So even though I was like hustling and everything, but deep down in my heart, I was not feeling okay. I was not yet used to this whole thing of sleeping with different men each and every night. And once you get into that society as a slave queen, it is like addictive because you just want the finer things in life. But deep down in my heart, I knew that this was not okay. I would try to pray, and when I would pray, it would be like the Holy Spirit will be reminding me of all the bad stuff that I would have been doing with these other men that I would have slept with even during the day or the night before. And that was when I got hooked into drugs. So now that I was more visible on Instagram, like DMs are like a gold mine when you are someone that has a lot of followers, your businessmen, even pastors. Yes, there was a pastor that slid into my inbox offering me trips, money, and gifts. Some were genuine, others were a mess waiting to happen. Let me tell you about my first big trip abroad. It was to Dubai. One of my new friends, like this guy, he owns several trucks, and these trucks, he has a tender in the mines. Like this mine just pours money into his company. So we went there to Dubai. Everything was perfect. But in my heart, I felt like I was trapped because this man, he had the tendencies to beat me up for no particular reason at all. Yes, he did beat me up whilst we were in Dubai, such that I could not even post anything because my face was swollen. We were supposed to stay for 2 weeks in Dubai. We extended the stay there in Dubai until we stayed there for more than 2 months. There were private doctors that would come to fix my face because the way that he had beaten me up in a drunken rage, it was just too much. I fell deeper and deeper into this life until I started dating another guy, a CEO of another company. This man, he was okay, but he had a troubled childhood. I am even scared of that guy. This guy, whenever he would make love to me, just to think that I had seen it all. This man, he used to trap cats each and every time. When I would sleep with him, he would have had a cat that he would have caught. He would travel in the locations and then he would capture a cat, and then later on in the evening when I would be at his place, then he would take that cat and stab it with a knife. He said that he enjoyed to watch that cat suffer. He once had this other cat that he started to break the bones of that cat one by one whilst he had it tied down. It was really terrible to witness such an evil act, then before the cat would have died, he will jump on top of me and make love to me. He said that he had such a troubled childhood. His father used to do the same thing. That man, I was scared of him. After that was when I said, I am facing too much abuse from my South African blesser. I then got introduced to this other man. So this man, he is a blesser from Zim who owns several companies again here in South Africa. He was the man who took me to his country. I went with him to Zim. I went with this man to his country. So he has a very big farm. When we got there, Brother Nashi, that was when he forced me to sleep with a snake. At least he gave me 200,000 rands, and he told me that we could not return back to South Africa with a flight, because when we had gone to Zim, we flew from South Africa to Zim. He said, this money, it is a lot of money. Brother Nashi, you know what this man had to do. So he had a friend, this friend of his has some trucks. So this truck, when it came to Harare, that was when he loaded 100K into one of the spare wheels of that truck, and then the other 50K he loaded into one spare wheel, then the other money we had it in the car. And he gave me this money when we returned back to South Africa, 200K in total for sleeping with this snake only once. He asked me again if I could do it, and I said no, I cannot do it, for I was so scared to keep on sleeping with the snake for money. But I bought my mom a car with that money that I was given after sleeping with my blessed snake. Currently, I am living in another province. This is my own confession. I have seen it all. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admin who helped us with this translation. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.